cut against the grain or against the grain podcast.
I haven't heard that.
That was it.
Yeah, if you listen to the last one on Reclaimed Audio, it's their 100th episode. So I guess they're
Already?
Like, they're
Really?
at 100 episodes,
Crap.
and they
That's
had
crazy.
me, Izzy Swan, and Andy Berkey come on and pretend that we were them for like the first 5 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
It's some of the most awkward podcasting you'll ever hear in your life.
Well, I've heard some pretty awkward podcasting.
That's true. I will say
Go back to Matt's first show.
Matt Vanderlist.
Don't do it.
Oh, Matt Cremona, gotcha.
Yeah, well, go to this first show of this. This
That
episode.
was bad.
Jeez, this first episode of this show, I can speak.
What the funny thing is, though, I don't feel bad about the awkwardness of our first shows because it was so early. It's not like we had a lot of models at the time.
Right.
Like there was, we
Yeah.
actually had a good excuse that no one else was doing it. But now it's like there are standards out there. It's a little, the bar is a little bit higher, and people, I don't know. I got a question from a kid, like the little snotty 12-year-old kid on YouTube. I reposted a video that was from like 2010 or something like that, and the guy's the kid's like, "Why'd you make videos so long back then?" I'm like, "Listen, you little shit." Because you were 6 when I was doing this, it was pretty funny.
Wow.
I just did.
So do you have
Cranky old man.
raw, like actual raw footage of every single thing you've done?
Not raw. I mean, most of it, most of what I have, and a lot of the earliest stuff, I think probably the first few years, I don't even have like the highest quality export. I just have a high definition, or at least my highest definition at that time, and then like a standard def video file. Once you get to about 2010, I have full quality Apple ProRes versions of whatever I made at that time, and it's a fully edited timeline. So it's like if there's baked in graphics, they're stuck there. So it's not like raw footage. It's just the highest quality version of the edited timeline.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I haven't watched it to see what you did.
Don't
I just
bother.
saw remastered.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well,
what does that mean?
I actually
remastered?
had full high def, but at the time we couldn't upload full high def, and I think the highest I could upload was like a 540p. So what we wound up with now is 1080p. And I, but back in 2010, didn't know anything about color correction, and I was filming with white blinds behind me, so they would totally kill the exposure. So I just kind of tweaked the way it looks and edited a 26-minute video down to 6 minutes. So that's why I think it's fair to call it remastered. I touched up the audio.
It definitely has a much different feel.
Right? And I did I did a brand new voiceover. I voiced it over like 2 days ago, just to keep the timeline very, very short.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I look at like my early stuff. 'Cause I don't even remember what. I know there was for a while there was like a minute limit on YouTube, and then you had to do it for a while before they lifted that limit. Like it was 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. There was a 10-minute limit.
Which is crazy because like 10 minutes is considered like super long now.
Yeah.
So it's like, why
you talk so
did
much?
they lift the 10-minute limit? But then there was like a file size limit. I don't even know what it is now. Is it still like 1.5 gigs or something like that? I don't even know.
I don't know. I haven't hit it.
I feel like it has probably gone up because it's I've done a 4K, 1.5 gigs is like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's not very much.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's very far. But yeah, it's like back then, 360p.
Yeah, well, some of my earlier stuff. I wish YouTube would open up replacement so that like you do on Vimeo, for instance, where you could, and Wistia does it as well. Just being able to go in, upload a brand new, it's an identical thing, the exact same time, but I'm just uploading a new file, and they will not let you do that. It sucks.
I know. It's frustrating because I have a lot of, I actually have raw clips, and I've just realized that that's stupid. And I started getting rid of them. Like, what am I going to do? Go back and plug stuff into a timeline again? That's never going to
What are you going to do? Make a 26-minute video into a 6-minute video and repost it? That's stupid.
No, I'm going to make a 6-minute into a 26-minute video. Yeah.
There you go. That's the way you do it.
You'll listen and you'll like it.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't got to that point yet. I still have everything.
Well, you're
too lazy to go back and clean up.
You're a noob.
Yeah, that's what it is. Is that memory has gotten so cheap.
I was gonna say, Yeah,
Really?
hard drives are so cheap these days.
Just throw another couple terabytes into that.
What I see
stack
someone
and we'll
just
be good to go.
Seagate
What'd I
announced
do?
I think I just saw an email about Seagate's new like 12 terabyte desktop drives. Like you got to be kidding me, man. That's crazy.
It's not even a RAID. It's just a single drive.
A single 12 terabyte
terabytes.
drive.
Good
Yeah,
Lord.
for
more
now.
than a raid.
Yeah,
There you
they
go.
have a desktop.
Nice. I need 6 of those in my Drobo.
Right. Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, let's do a show. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep bantering.
Meh. Shows are overrated.
We're just going to do a tech show.
Sure.
Personal RAID arrays
Super.
and why we love them.
That's tempting.
And super off topic. People will love that.
So, do you guys use a scratch drive and you prefer Thunderbolt or USB 3.0?
I go for a USB. Actually, I have a direct. I use my hybrid drive in my iMac as my scratch
doing,
drive.
Mark?
I'm not
Oh, dude,
doing what it looks
that's
like
the
I'm
thing
doing.
that's what went belly up in my iMac is the hybrid drive.
I'm buffing my phone screen with my shirt.
Buffing my phone.
I'm sanding a dowel is what I'm doing.
Whoa. Hey-o.
How's that?
Let me see those hands.
All right, here we go.
Oh, there's hair on your palm.
Oh, that I was born with that. Sorry. Oh wait, I don't have the show notes up. Hold on. We're doing 413. We've got a Brusso ad. All is well. Let's do a show.
Welcome to Woodtalk. Now here are 3 guys who think true grit starts at 220. Mark, Shannon, and Matt.
All right, it's Wood Talk number 413 for October 2nd. Is that the right date? That doesn't strike me as correct. October 6th, 2017. That's actually the recording day, so it's 6, 7, 8. This is fantastic.
That's not right either.
No, it's not. Hey, you know what?
It's the 9th.
I don't want to have a screw up here. Let's just redo this.
Okay.
Matt, did you put the date in wrong?
Very likely.
You stink.
What day is it supposed to be? Hold on a second.
It'll be Monday.
Oh.
You couldn't
And
see
then the
but it
second
was
date-
wrong
Monday.
tiers.
Yeah, the second date will auto adjust if you make that the correct date.
I have the
Vision
wrong
was
Monday.
still blurry
Got
from
it.
all the crying.
He's so
This
sad.
was like 2 weeks ago. I
Okay,
don't remember what dude.
so it's
Yeah.
October.
Wrong Monday. That's why.
Okay,
I grabbed the wrong Monday.
are you fixing it?
I was just about to, but now someone's in there.
So it's going to be October 9th.
Yeah.
Still
Yes.
releasing on Mondays? Yeah.
So October 9th, and then the next show. Oh, it didn't auto populate. Okay, the next show is the 16th, right? October 16th. Boy, we don't do many do-overs, but today we got one.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Also, this.
Good thing we're
Really?
recording it now.
Oh, that's right, because ours is October this is something. So that's coming up.
Are we all October weddings?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't know
Best
you
time
were
of year to
too.
Get married. It's
Wow.
not super hot and humid.
This is pretty cool.
Anniversary month for all 3 of us. Jeez,
Yeah.
we should have the wives come on and just do a show without us.
18
anniversary
years.
show.
18
18?
years.
Mine
Yeah.
is somewhere north of 10, somewhere south of 20.
I'm on 6.
That's pretty good. That's respectable.
I got married in 99, so I just take the year and add 1, and I always get it right.
Oh, see, you got a trick. I need a trick.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
should have gotten married a year later, and I wouldn't have to do math.
That's right. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Woodtalk. Now here are 3 guys who think true grit starts at 220. Mark, Shannon, and Matt.
All right, it's Wood Talk number 413 for October 9th, 2017. On today's show, we're talking about woodworkers fighting cancer, dealing with pests in the shop, stable hardwoods, and what finish to use on a workbench. And today's show is sponsored by our friends at Brusso. I'm actually going to be using some Brusso hardware pretty soon. I've got a jewelry box project coming up, and I'm thinking knife hinges would be good for that. I haven't had a chance to use their hardware in a while, so I'm really looking forward to it. Make sure you check out Brusso's Photo Extra newsletter. It's a weekly update from Brusso dedicated to customer submitted. Why is this not long enough? This stupid single column thing. I can't read. Believe it or not, I am reading this. I know it doesn't seem like I am, but I'm reading this stuff. It's a weekly update from Brusso dedicated to customer-submitted photos. Brusso's customers work on detailed projects including ring boxes, humidors, keepsakes, gun boxes, and furniture, of course. It's an excellent source of inspiration for your next project. The newsletter is short, quick, and has great photos, and it's delivered right to your inbox. So if you want to sign up, go to brusso.com/photoextra. That's all one word, brusso.com/photoextra. And I look forward to using your hardware pretty soon, Brusso. It's good stuff. You open that little plastic package, and you just go, oh, this is the stuff right here. And you see that extra steel screw in the package, which is a nice treat. You guys notice that too?
Oh, yeah. That's nice. I like that.
So you can use that to plow through the holes first before you potentially damage your brass screws. That's a really nice bonus. We have some people to thank on Patreon too. Give me a second to pull those up. And by some people, I mean one person. John Malcolm. It's almost like we said we're doing less stuff. We're doing less shows, and then people stopped wanting to give us money. That's weird how that works.
Yeah, I know.
But it's fair. Yeah. It's fair. We got what we deserved. Maybe not. I don't know.
Which is
less money. So, John Malcolm, thank you so much for helping us out. And if you want to help the show stay on the air like those folks did, or that folk did, that's patreon.com/woodtalk. And you can get all the information on little bonuses and things you can get by supporting us on a monthly basis. We do appreciate it. And let's get to what's on the bench, shall we, gentlemen?
Yep.
I'll go
Looks
first.
Like you got some picture frames on your bench still.
I do.
Moved those yet?
I got to clean up the shop, man. It's I've been stuck inside the office and haven't gotten back in here. They're sitting where they were when I photographed them for the video.
Exactly the same layout, isn't it?
They're just arranged, ready to go. So I did my resin embedded frames with the resin casting in the center and got those all done. That was for the Woodworkers Fighting Cancer drive, which we'll talk a little bit more about in What's New. Someone actually requested that we give a little history on that, so I'm glad to do it. But this is going on all October. Anyone who wants to build a frame, and you don't have to have the resin casting in the middle. I know a lot of people may not want to mess with epoxy. You could do just kind of a little hot glue action in the middle and just like put little decorations and things inside the frame. It's a super simple project and very easy to help out with the charity this year. So the cool thing is if you submit a picture of your frame by October 31st, we will donate $1 on your behalf. If you do a build video on YouTube, we will donate $5 on your behalf. Ooh. And if you there's a new app called Giddy, and if you post a video or picture to the Giddy app, they will donate $2 on your behalf. So that's actually a potential for $7 worth of donations made to the charity on your behalf, all by building a simple frame, which is a fun project for the family. Or if you want to make it a memory shadow box kind of thing, you could certainly do that as well. So
what if I do a 5-part build series?
$5. $5. Today we're making one miter joint. Yeah, well, you know what? The resolution does count, so maybe.
What if they're on different channels?
Because if I do it in 4K, it's got to be 5 parts long because of the size of each file.
Of course. We have questions like that, too, where the one guy is a doctor, and he said he wants to build all the frames and then give them to all of his nurses to then do the decoration, and will each one of those count? We've got to figure out like all of these particular cases and like which ones will we count, which ones won't we count. So it gets a little confusing. But ultimately, I think if each person decorates one on their own, that would count as one each, and then we would count each one for $1.
Oh man,
yeah,
I've got a few kids.
It's going to get expensive. Yeah, I mean honestly, yeah. I guess if you have a couple kids, you make a couple of frames and you could take a picture with each kid with their frame. Each one would count.
All right.
You guys are going to cost me a lot
of frames to my wife's school.
You're going to cost me a lot of money.
Girl Scout cookie time comes around.
Right.
Let's see how generous Mark really is.
Hey, it's gonna. We're on the hook here. Whatever happens. So, So I'm also preparing for a talk like next week or maybe the week after. I got to look at the calendar, but that the Denver Woodworking Club, Woodworkers Guild, or whatever they call it, going to talk a little bit about finishing there, which should be kind of fun.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to pull a Cremona here. I'm going to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were poo-pooing guilds a couple months ago.
No, I was.
What happened?
Well, it's my local guild, and I can't judge them yet because I haven't actually attended and I haven't met anyone there. So
it's your local guild. You're going for the first time to be a speaker, and you're not even a member.
Wow.
Well, come on.
Wow.
That's pretty something.
Well, dude, I just moved here. What do you want me to do?
You've been there a year. I don't want to tell you you just moved there.
Oh, that's true.
Do you have an appearance agent and a performance agent?
Yes. Yeah. It's Nicole Spagnolo is one of them, and Nicole R. Spagnolo is the other one. Okay. So the other thing is I have to design a jewelry box. That's coming up in the guild. Haven't even lifted a finger for that. I've got this project is like supposed to start next week, and I've got people going, "Hey, what's this thing going to look like?" And I say, "I don't know," because I haven't designed it yet. So it'll be a surprise. It'll be a surprise for everybody. So that's it. That's it for me. Matt, what do you got going on?
Oh, speaking of the guild, I guess I'm trucking through the High Boy right now. That's yep, that's a thing in itself. Where am I right now? I got the drawer dividers installed, the upper case, and then I did the scroll board. You know, the thing that looks phallic.
Yes.
Everyone reminds me that it's super phallic, but and they're acting like I'm the first one to do that. I'm like, the people back.
You might be the first one they've seen.
I think this might be what it is.
Yeah, we're talking about YouTube.
This is a very common design.
Yeah.
On that period, so it kind of makes you wonder, like, what exactly that came from. Like, who was like, "This is."
Oh, I know where it came from. I'll send you a text later, Matt. Show you where it came from.
Somebody with a very good sense of humor back in the day.
And you're not the first one to do it, Matt. Didn't you see Mark's Moana, Maui hook video? Come on.
Oh, that's right. That's true.
I could not get away from that thing looking like a little wiener. There's nothing I could do.
Even when you wrapped it in a rope, it still looked that way.
It still looked like a little wiener, but, what are you going to do?
Oh, man. So the other thing I want to mention, too, I think you guys will appreciate, and I think we're going to talk about this on the next show, is last weekend I built a couple of apple presses, and we had talked about this in the past. We're like, if we want to build something, we're feel like, I don't know, ashamed is not the right word for it, but we missed out if we don't film it. I didn't film that because I found the secret to being successful with that. Build something you already built, and just tell people to go watch the video of the thing you already did last year. Right. You can do your woodworking and not have to worry about toting a camera around. And I tell you what, that feeling is very weird.
Is it?
Because I'm so used to now not thinking about the project first, thinking about the shot first, and thinking about the camera setup first, and then the shot comes second. And all the time I spend between every single operation moving the camera around, and that's gone. You can literally fly through things. I'm like, this is crazy. I used to be fast at woodworking.
Well, you're right on the heels of the European chair thing that you did. So it's I think it might be sending you down the wrong path here. Life is not that easy, Matt. It is.
I'm not saying I'm going to change anything. I'm saying that I think once in a while it might be nice for us to be able to just get out in the shop and build something without having to worry about the camera all the time, and to not feel bad about doing that. Build something you already built.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
That's a good idea.
Well, I have a solution for that. Since I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, go.
I'm working on this wall mirror for the hand tool school, but I'm gathering materials to build a perch stool, and my solution is just build it live, because
that works too.
I just set up the cameras, start the stream, and go to work. And now I've gotten to the point. The only thing I have to do occasionally is switch cameras through my broadcasting software, for tight and wide, but it actually works pretty well. You've got to spend some time setting up the camera angles ahead of time, put a little bit of thought into where I'm
one
go.
or two camera angles. You set it and basically forget it, I guess.
Set it and forget it. And if you have, a production assistant, a Nicole Spagnolo or something like that, she can sit there and, switch the camera angles for you. And it actually, I built that bookcase in January, and I remember thinking that at the time, hey, this is going really fast, because you're not having to stop and switch a camera angle or anything like that, because it was rolling. There was a live shot there with the chat room and everything. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to build the perch stool next Saturday, the 14th, high noon Eastern time. I'm going to fire up the stream and start riving out some legs and spend some time with the lathe and turn out legs. Essentially, I'm building the bottom half of a Windsor chair, except taller. It's a stool. And it's specifically a perch style, so it's got that kind of lean forward aspect. So it's good for your posture and all that fun stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, fun. I have no idea how long it's going to take. I mean, probably it's not like I'm going to be doing a
30. It'll be 36 hours. Shannon will be like, please send in your donations now.
I'm going to do like, an hour and what I get done in an hour, and then kind of say, okay, rinse and repeat. There's 3 legs. So I will probably get through riving out and turning let's be honest, maybe 1 leg. In the course of an hour when you're talking to a chat room and stuff like that. But the good news is the other 2 legs are, the other back leg is the same everything, same dimensions, same everything. Front leg is a little bit shorter. So it's just a matter of, cutting the same things on the lathe, just in a slightly compressed version. Sunday, I will probably do all the boring of the holes, the resultant angles, and the reaming of the tenons, or the mortises, and actually get like a flat plank up and seated. If I have time, I'll move on to the stretchers, and then I'll probably go into the next weekend to do the carving of the seat. So I guess.
Doesn't Cosman do this with his online thing, where basically he's building projects and doing things, but it's all real time?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he does, because I know he's got a camera person that helps him, and I've heard from people that that's all it is. You're seeing these things in real time. So when you're looking at, like, you get 10 hours of content, well, it's actually 10 hours of, like, literally being there for the 10-hour process of building this thing. But yeah, I think that's his approach to it as well.
I mean, you got to do it right. I mean, you basically watch a lot of Woodwright Shop episodes and see like how Roy manages to move from topic to topic to topic to make it somewhat entertaining.
Sure.
There's an art in that. It's also exhausting, but
yeah,
I'm always impressed that he like nails the timing. Like, 22 minutes? It's like I start the project to start the episode. It's like straight through, and then I'm done right on time.
Yeah, you really got to have some preparation for that. It almost reminds me of like cooking shows. Where you like, okay, we're going to put this in the oven, and then here's the finished one. You pull out this beautiful baked apple pie. Yeah, it's a whole new way to do it.
I got a behind-the-scenes look at that when I was at the Woodwright School. Roy had the bench like right behind me, which you want to talk about distracting. Like trying to work while Roy Underhill is right over your shoulder, like cracking jokes the whole time, trying to screw you up, essentially. But he was building the infield shaker cupboard, which he did like the following season. It was probably like season 30 or something like that. And I actually got to see, I think he made like 6 different versions of that. Like while I was there for the week building a Windsor chair, Roy built that infield cupboard to some extent 6 times, so that he was able to have the setups to be able to go, okay, here's how we shape the bottom curve. And when you're done that, and there's a whole other setup.
This is how it should look.
Right. Didn't David Mark say the same thing, Mark? Like,
yes.
He had to have like 4 or 5 different versions of the same project.
Yeah, that's how I got that coffee table from him. He actually sent me one of the coffee tables that was made on the show.
I got 6 of these.
But it was like, it was sitting in storage, and it was like 3/4. Actually, it was actually completely constructed. It just didn't have a finish on it. And it was one that was used to show on video prior to the finish. So yeah, he used to have to do tons of that stuff. I know Tommy, when I went to Boston to do the show, they had the same situation. There were like 20 versions of every possible step and iteration that they had to prepare all that stuff ahead of time so they could do this in one day. It's crazy.
Wow.
No fun.
All right.
Yeah.
I changed what I said, Matt. It's not easier.
Well, when you do it the way we do it, 2 cameras and you just go live, and it is what it is. A different story. Okay. So let's get to what's new. And this is where we'll talk a little bit about the woodworkers fighting cancer thing. So I actually had a question from Nick. He says, wait a minute. That's not the right question. I copy and pasted the wrong question there. So this one, there was a question that someone asked me, what is the history of woodworkers fighting cancer? And I put a question about someone's workshop here. So let's pretend I actually read that question. So yeah, woodworkers fighting cancer started, 2010. I believe it was. So there was a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Moore who emailed me and was going through treatment for pancreatic cancer, I believe. And he was trying to create some things for his kids, and his prognosis was not great at the time. And he was just looking to get some of these things done. So to help him, he was trying to do modifications of a blanket chest build, one of Rockler's plans. And I was like, you know what? I could do more than just kind of give you advice on this. I'll make this my next project, and I'll actually make a video that everyone can follow. And this would actually be really intended for him as a specific how-to for him to get the job done. So that was kind of what started the relationship. We had a lot of emails back and forth, and really great guy, great family. And we decided to go out and visit him, excuse me, and went to his shop and did a little bit of, just instructional stuff, hanging out in his shop. And from that point on, he passed away shortly after that. And we decided that we would take everything we've done online once a year and direct it into, cancer charities and try to make this, turning all of this stuff that we've created, this community that we've rallied behind, woodworking content, and see if we can't turn it into something, awesome for charity. And it really all goes back to Dwayne and his family. And I think his son follows some of our live broadcasts once in a while. I get to hear from them, but a great bunch of people. And since then, we've done this every year. And now in 2017, we've raised, I think we're about to hit the $100,000 mark.
Awesome.
For total funds,
cool.
Right? And it's like we can't even take credit for this because it was our idea, but it was really every year it's the community that's building things that allow us to pledge dollars for those builds. And now the companies that are getting involved, the auctions are one of the things that takes our totals. We always hit our goal because of these things, where tool companies are basically just giving us a tool. We auction it off. Somebody who needs that tool buys it. They usually wind up paying full price, if not more than full price, but the entire amount of funds, goes directly to the charity. So all these companies they're getting a little promotion for it, but they're also able to help out with a good cause. So wrap everything together, and every year we raise about 15 grand is usually our goal, and we give that directly to various cancer charities. So this year we are contributing to the Jimmy Fund, and that's a fund that directly funds the Dana-Farber Institute. And so some years we support research, some years we support care. And, there's different organizations out there that just try to make people comfortable or make things easier for them as they go through like this incredibly difficult battle in their lives, and also support for the families. So it's something that's really special to Nicole and I. We have a lot of folks in our family who are, either have passed away from a cancer-related illness or are currently undergoing treatment for cancer, including both of our fathers. So yeah, cancer sucks. Everybody knows that, and it's hard to find anyone whose life is not directly touched by it. So I can't think of a better cause for us to get behind. So that's what it is. Go to woodworkersfightingcancer.com. All the history is there, as well as previous builds. You could see everything that people built in the past, and you could find out how to get involved for this year. And we hope everybody will build along, because it's definitely a good cause.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's a feel-good thing, I'll tell you, this time of year. It makes us feel like everything that we've been doing for 10 years, over a decade, if all we could say is that we've been able to contribute tons of money to cancer research, I would say we've succeeded in what we set out to do.
All we've done is given a bunch of money to cancer research.
Like what I'm saying is, all of the woodworking stuff, if that's the end result of it, it was totally worth it.
That's awesome.
So... do we have any? I don't know what to do with this questionnaire. I'll figure that out later.
This is with that question.
Yeah, ignore that. Just go to your thing.
Much less impressive than the $100,000 raised for cancer research.
All charity is good charity.
is another little charity. One of my hand tool school members, Ernie Stevenson, his site is grandpa'slittle.farm.com, and he has been restoring auger bits for years. Like, if you want to buy a bunch of auger bits for your brace that look like they're brand new, but they're hundreds of years old, I mean, he makes them shiny and pretty and everything. But he's also started doing this with a bunch of other old tools, and he decided he wanted to create like a starter kit, a jack plane with like multiple blades, just like the perfect thing to give a new woodworker to say, here's all the plane you need right now. It's a couple of blades for scrub work and for finishing work and joining work. He even includes like a screwdriver and a little coin driver, and he had custom made chip breakers done. He restored this jack plane to the point where you'd swear it was just made by Stanley yesterday, like brand new Japanning, perfectly shiny. He turned a madrone handle, shaped a madrone tote. It looks gorgeous. And he's decided he wants to auction it off and give the funds to the American Red Cross for hurricane relief. So he contacted me and said, would it be cool if you announced this on like one of your live broadcasts? And I said, heck yeah. In fact, I'll throw in a semester of the hand tool school, just kind of sweeten the pot. Then he came up with what he called his short kit, because there's a lot of people who already have a jack plane. So the short kit is basically the 3 blades and the custom chip breaker and the screwdrivers and everything. And all you have to do is add jack plane. So those 2 things are being auctioned off right now. It started up yesterday, and we did it this way just because we were uncertain, and frankly, there was very little time. We were uncertain who to give it to, because some of the charities obviously have operating expenses and stuff, and Ernie was pretty clear that he wanted 100% of the funds to go right there. So
it's tricky.
check it out. It's actually, I found out later it's the exact same auction service that Mark is using.
Right.
So, yay!
It's a good one.
That kind of worked out well. So I think, what is it? 32auctions.com/Jack Plane Starter Kit. But I'll include a link here. Go check it out. It runs through next Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, the 12th. Yeah, the 12th is when it shuts down. I think we're like up to $250 or something last I checked last night. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Can't beat that, man. Gotta love charity.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good. Okay, so
Yay.
let's get into our kickbacks here. Yay! Got one from Rich. He says, I found Mark's reasoning not to purchase your last machine first sound, given the question on purchasing the super duper Incra router table first. And so my kickback is to request that Mark clarify why he disagreed with Matt's analogous reasoning on the purchase of the Jet Portable Combo. That we can't get away from this. I love
This is
it.
still coming back.
I saw in Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, there was a question about it. I'm like, I'm not even going in there.
Don't go. Don't do it.
Okay, so the Jet Portable Combo Jointer Planer. The latter purchase was discussed in the last couple of months. I'll add that my reasoning to purchase the 10-inch combo Jet Joiner Planer about a year ago was similar. Buy into a modest unit, learn, and then consider purchasing up. I'm space constrained and so can only consider combo units. Finally, my vote is that we use the names your parents gave you and let your close friends tag you with a nickname. So I guess our stupid nickname game that we've been playing. And he says, thanks for the hard work putting the podcast together. I've learned a lot. Rich. Well, thanks, Rich. Appreciate that. And, you notice we don't really call each other those names. That is what other people call us. I still call these goons by their given names. Okay. So here's the difference. Matt's gearing up for this.
I'm not gearing up for anything. You say your thing and I'm done.
Okay. The difference here is when I say don't buy your last tool first, I'm saying buy a more modest version. What I'm referring to is a more modest version that actually works. Okay. The problem is, and I know some people have had
You're just
success.
gonna fan the fire so even more.
I love it. There are people who have had success with that particular joiner planer combo unit, but there are many, many others who have not. So my point is, yeah, sure, you can go for a joiner planer combo, but try the floor standing Jet version. And Grizzly, I believe, has a comparable one. They're a little more expensive, certainly. I think they're like $1,500 or something like that. But the thing is, you have to get something that actually works and works well. If you buy so cheap on your first tool, you go so far in the other direction that you actually buy something that impedes your ability to get the job done, that's bad, right? There is a lower limit to how far you should go with your first modest purchase. So that's why I'm saying read the reviews, decide for yourself, take what, Matt and some others who've had success with it, take what they said into account, but also look at the people who want to stay as far away from that machine as possible and think about what you might be able to do to get something that does something similar. Maybe it's a little bit more money, but at least you're getting both of the tools that will not frustrate the crap out of you. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. I won't even give Matt a chance to rebuttal. There's no need for it.
I've already said my thing like
You said your piece.
10 episodes ago.
Yeah. So go back and listen again if you want to hear the counter
Unless
argument.
someone wants me to clarify, they're welcome to send a kickback, and I will clarify some more, I guess.
We'll do that next week then.
Yeah, there you go. Next time we'll be doing the thing from Matt.
There you
Matt,
go.
explain your opinion some more.
That's what we need here.
We need to throw in some miter saw talk too. Just
To round it out. Yeah. Really good
Maybe
idea.
domino, too.
Okay, so we have a
Domino or pocket holes? What do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's go to Chase's kickback about sore hands.
Hey guys, Chase from
Poop biscuits. Hold on a second.
Wow.
See, the thing is, I listen to music and stuff, and that screws up my setup for podcasting. Okay.
here, and I just wanted to
Here
give
we
a-
go.
Hey guys, Chase from CN Woodwork here, and I just wanted to give a little feedback about a sore hands question you had a little bit ago. Basically, I'd say you guys are on the right track. Watching how hard you're holding tools, how much pressure you're putting that's unnecessary, makes a huge difference as far as the fatigue I feel in my hands. Now, I may be on the opposite side of the spectrum, being that the gloves I wear are usually extra large to double extra large, but the amount of work that I'm doing on a regular basis really makes my hands sore at the end of the day. The other thing I've noticed that really helps is I got some of those hand squeeze exercisers. They're kind of the spring type exercisers for your hands. And I'll do 10 to 20 minutes of exercise at night if I notice my hands are sore. And the next day I won't have much soreness at all. So that really helps. I think they sell them in different sizes and different weights. So definitely check that out. And I hope that helps. And I want to say thanks for the show, guys. Always valuable information here. And just for the record, Shannon's Lumber is my favorite segment on the show. Keep it up, guys. Have a good one.
But is it because of the song or the content? Yeah. That's what I want to know.
Got to be because of the song. I hear that all the time. Like, I love that lumber update. You got to do more of that. And it's like, okay. It's funny. People find that really interesting. And I thought it was going to be boring as all get out.
Well, here we go.
There we go.
Shannon's Lumber Industry Update.
So there's really nothing to update this week, right?
What did we say the update was? Saws are still running. Trees are still being
They're still cutting down trees.
Still cutting down trees.
And tune in next week.
Where we'll cut down some more trees.
Yeah. Okay. So we got another voicemail.
Actually, you know what? I do have a lumber update.
Okay.
Now that I think about it. Speaking of cutting down trees, there is an enormous amount of mahogany that is now being reclaimed from Florida after the hurricane. So anybody who has always wanted to work with Cuban mahogany, the real stuff, Sweetina mahogany, the stuff that it's like CITES listed Appendix 1, can't be traded, can't be bought or sold whatsoever. This is Florida-grown Cuban mahogany. I know that actually Alf Sharp, if you guys know Alf, period furniture maker, not the Muppet. Sorry, Alf. Sorry, Alf. I regretted it the minute I said it.
Yeah, you should.
Sorry. He actually contacted me at the lumberyard the other day, and he has some of that Cuban mahogany that he's trying to sell. He's got some 14 and 18-inch wide Cuban mahogany. So it's out there. If you do a little bit of digging around, I've actually found some stuff on Craigslist as well. So the urban logging movement, or the post-hurricane logging movement, I should say, is alive and well, and there's some interesting stuff coming out of it. So,
great.
There we go.
Okay.
We just made up a lumber update.
Impromptu update. Yeah.
Let's get some.
Perfect. All right. So we got one from
nice lumber.
There's our show type.
Sample pack.
Some.
All right. Let's get to Chris Meeks kickback here.
Hello and greetings, gentlemen. This is Christopher again. I will be your pilot this evening. I just want to let you know how much I appreciate your noble attempt at a podcast. You really have done a fine job. I'm not going to say you did an excellent job by any means. I mean, let's get real. Mark already has the ego of a well-endowed hip-hop rapper guy. We don't need to make that any worse than it already is.
What?
But seriously, for a minute, I just want to let you guys know how much I do appreciate the work you're doing here. You somehow managed to make woodworking interesting and entertaining to listen to. But the thing that really does it for me is your crossover into the nerd culture. You know, I hear references to comic books and video games, Star Wars. I'm pretty sure I heard a reference to Monty Python, if I'm not mistaken. In which case, you might want to explain that to Max. I really don't think he gets it. But seriously, guys, keep up the good work. I enjoy what you're doing. And incidentally, I would like to know, what comic books do you read and what video games do you play? Interesting. Now, get back to work. Ugh, glad that's over with. I didn't know how much longer I could keep a straight face on that one. Man, you guys do a great job. I love what you do. Well, gag me with a spoon. What a bunch of douchebags. Oh, crap. Is this thing still...
Yeah. We have the best actors in our audience. It's really good. Yeah. Almost as good as us, actually. Okay. I guess, do we want to answer that question real quick? What do you like to read, Shannon?
Oh, boy. What week is it? Whatever I happen to fall into. I've been rereading Why the Last Man again.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't it, though?
I love that. So good.
Really,
it's
really good.
It feels too short.
Let's see. I was doing Invincible last week. I've been kind of back to early Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. Like, what is it, 1970 Guardians?
Yeah.
So, like, learning the character that Sylvester Stallone played in the second Guardians movie. Yeah, I've been reading that lately.
Nice.
Good stuff.
I've actually been reading a lot of kids stuff because every night we've moved on from like regular kids books at night to
Woo!
yeah, we're now reading comic books every night on my iPad. So I'm reading a lot of Teen Titans Go, which is it's actually really, really funny, and the cartoon is hilarious. So a lot of my like classic standard woodworking, capes and tights kind of reading is gone by the wayside because it's all about what Mateo wants to read at this point. Video game wise, I'm playing a lot of Zelda on the Switch right now and trying to get through that. And what was the thing that just came out? Destiny 2 just came out, so we've been playing a little bit of that too. It's a little bit of everything. So Matt, the funny thing is you're the youngest in the group. Do you read comics or play video games?
I have never read a comic in my life.
See, I knew this was going to be the answer. What's the deal, man?
I don't know. It's never something I never did, I guess, unless you count like Archie.
No, we don't count that at all.
I'd be curious to see how prevalent that is across Matt's demographic, though.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I got into comics when I was little because there wasn't really anything else. You know, there was no YouTube, there was no internet to get my entertainment from. So whenever Fantasy Island wasn't on TV, I had nothing else to do, you know?
Be plain.
And with Batman 66 on all the time, it was like, oh man, I'm going to pick up a Batman comic. And, that was it. And
yeah.
G.I. Joe comics, are you kidding me?
Hey-o.
I was playing all my G.I. Joe action figures, and then there was a comic that came out.
Dude, I still read G.I. Joe.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's fantastic.
Heck yeah. I've got like 300 issues or so of it.
So the old guys are the comic book readers and the video game players, and Matt's just making wood furniture and babies.
I used to play video games, and then I started doing this full time. I didn't have time for it anymore, and I had kids. And
dude, you make time. You figure it out. You make time for these important things.
I feel bad. So I could be like actually working and like answering someone's email that I won't have time to get to otherwise.
Yeah. Good point. You just make us look bad. That's all. Okay. So let's get to our voicemail questions now. Sweaty Colin called in. Has a question about laminating workbenches.
Sweaty Colin.
Hey guys, this is Colin, the sweaty guy from Chicago. I didn't say this last time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for your answers on the last question. Now, I have another question for you. On the opposite end of woodworking, this one has to do with workbenches. I'm building a new workbench. It's based on the Moravian workbench by Will Myers, and I wanted something that was collapsible because I live in an apartment. But because I live in an apartment, I don't have a lot of clamps because I don't have the room to keep them. So laminating up the top was looking difficult. And I was thinking of building some of Shannon's panel clamps until I came across a segment in Roy Underhill's book where he suggested drilling through the side and putting in threaded rods and then just bolting the whole mess together. And I've never heard of this. I went through a quick Google search and I didn't turn up much, so I was curious, what do you guys think of this? Would this be a decent way to get proper clamping pressure for laminating up something like a bench top? I'd love your guys' opinions. Thanks so much.
This reminds me of the classic butcher block construction, right? Where they've got the threaded rods going through them. So you guys see anything wrong with this? It seems like it would work.
No, I don't see anything wrong with it. What I wonder is, I don't know. I mean, tackle the immediate project. I mean, clamps are something that you're always going to want, right? So now might be a good opportunity to get some.
Get them when you need them.
You don't have to have 48-inch wide clamps to do a workbench top. Workbench top's about 24 inches wide. So buying the 31-inch jets that I've got, those are like probably the most used clamp in my shop.
That's the ideal size.
I mean, I understand. Certainly, they are expensive. Parallel clamps are expensive. Bar clamps really aren't that all expensive. If you have no clamps right now, I think it's a perfect opportunity to buy clamps. Yes, the threaded rod thing will work, but on the next project, when it's time to need clamps, maybe you can't drill a hole through it and do a threaded rod again.
All my projects have holes in them.
Right.
It's a design feature.
And he's going to need a lot of threaded rod to get through that. I'm not hip on the latest prices on threaded rod, but by the time you buy all of those, you probably could have bought one clamp.
Well, the question I have for that is how many you think you're going to need to do a workbench top? Like one every foot? Is that even enough?
Yeah. And then what are you tightening down? You need something to tighten down. You need a caul of some sort. It could just be a board with a hole drilled through it and like a wing nut or something like that. But something's got to apply pressure to the outside. You're not tapping the bench. So all the rod is just providing, the means for which to clamp on either side of it. So you're going to need something else there that's going to, an outlay of cash. It's probably not much, could just be a 2x4, but still something else to think about. Then you're getting whatever piece of hardware that's actually threading on and clamping, a bolt and a fender washer maybe to give you a little bit of clamping pressure. But I wouldn't just do like the bolt and fender washer right on the workbench. I would want some call to spread out the clamping force, right? So instead of it, because otherwise you need a whole bunch of threaded rod. You need one probably every 12 inches on the bench.
Got to spread it out.
So if you had a call that could spread it out over maybe 24 inches, then you're still looking at 4 threaded rods at probably 36 inches long. I'm trying to think. They're cheap.
Yeah, they're not super expensive, but they're not free.
I would say maybe $12, $15 for a 36 inch, 3/4 inch or inch diameter threaded rod.
And we are coming up on clamp sale season.
That's true. Black Friday is coming.
Usually this time of year,
every year,
this is where you can order clamps and maybe get them by summer because they usually sell out. But keep an eye out. This is the time of year to buy clamps. So,
I mean, the easy answer is yes. It's the totally legit way of doing it. But I'm always telling people, don't buy tools until you need them. Well, you need them.
Now you need them.
And you're going to use that clamp on every project here on out. The other thing is I often don't like the idea of gluing up a workbench all at once. I like gluing it up into smaller sub-assemblies just because there's so much room for error. I mean, I guess unless you're like using a domino or dowels to align all the.
You've got alignment holes built right in.
Boom.
Rod holes.
Come on, it's done. But here's the other thing. If you drilled the holes exactly so that the threaded rod aligned it, are you going to be able to get the threaded rod back out because you just glued it in place with all the glue?
Counter that with a smaller dowel. No problem.
Just use a hacksaw and saw.
I'm just thinking like a butcher block, you leave it in there.
That's true.
In case you need to tighten it down.
You have another bench top to glue up, and you don't want to buy some more threaded rod.
And you gotta yank those things out. Oh, it's so complicated, this woodworking thing. Okay, so we've got a question here. This is interesting. I don't know where this joke comes from. Maybe Shannon, you could shed some light on this, but this is for your alter ego whose name is Keith. He specified that in his email, and he addresses Keith, but I don't know the joke. Is there something with your alter ego?
I don't know.
Okay, well, then this is for Keith.
Hey guys, Andy here from Missouri. Thanks for the show. My question is for Keith. Hey Keith, if you had a choice between marrying Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons, or saving all of your silly, precious hand tools from a dragon fire, which would you choose? Thanks. Bye.
Well, aside from insulting your wife, what would you do in this situation, Shannon?
There's not a Keith in Game of Thrones, is there? That seems rather out of place.
Keith, yeah, he's a dragon slayer known as Keith.
He's the guy that changes Jon Snow's chamber pot.
That's right. Yeah, Keith.
He comes in and replaces.
He dumps the poo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would keep all my hand tools.
I like the question. I just don't understand the Keith thing. You'd keep your hand tools?
She scares me.
She seems like she would be a little bit pushy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about marrying, so you're going to have to deal with her for more than a day. And
I think I might get killed. But yeah.
You could be sacrificial.
True.
Yeah, she's a loose cannon, and she's just about to become even more powerful. And she's got dragons for pets.
Right. That could be cool. But I don't think my dog would get along well with the dragons.
That's right.
There would be lots of barking all the time.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good. So I'm going to stick to my hand tools.
It's good answer. Okay, so if you want to send us a voicemail, you can do so. Just use the voice memo app on your little telephone thingy in your pocket and email that to woodtalkonline@gmail.com. And we've already done the lumber update, so we can skip that. Let's go into our emails. I got a question here from Kenny, and that's not Shannon's dog. He doesn't know how to type because he's dumb.
Could be.
Is that why? He's a dumb dog.
He's not dumb. He's got border collie in him.
Most dogs can type. Kenny just can't. I don't know what the problem is. He says, my shop is in a garage like a lot of people, and I'm constantly getting spider webs everywhere. Under the bench, table saw, wood rack. Do you have a similar problem? And if so, how do you deal with it? All right, so I never really had this problem in Arizona. I've had other types of infestations, like scorpions, which are always fun.
Nice.
We've had crickets. That was interesting. But here in Colorado, in the last couple of months, so toward the end of summer, I don't know what happens, but spider webs everywhere. Like in the back, in the fence posts, like every time a fence post comes up, that vertical leg, there's spider webs coming down each side, and it's all around the house, all around the fences, everywhere. I don't know what the deal is with spiders. But anyway, so yeah, I actually have had this happen, and typically what I do is I get the vacuum cleaner and I suck it up. So I don't really think too much about it. This is totally something where if it's really a problem, you could actually get some kind of treatment. I mean, in Arizona, we had a monthly pesticide treatment. I didn't like having pesticides in and around the house, but it was something that was necessary in that area unless we wanted scorpions and all kinds of little beasties running around the house all the time. So you could get a service and just have them do the shop, and they will spray and do the perimeter and the outside of the home, and that could definitely protect you. But you got to be okay with, pesticides. So for me, it's not worth it right now. Nothing that I've seen scares me enough or gives me the sort of hint that this might be a larger problem at work. So until that happens, I'll just continue to suck it up with my vacuum cleaner and wait for winter to kill these things. But yeah, again, pesticides and things like that can work, but call a company and get them to spray in the shop if it's really that problematic for you. Do you guys have any major pest issues in the shop? Or have you had any?
I get lots of, I guess they're spider webs. I mean, they're some sort of web type thing. I don't actually see a lot of spiders.
They're almost cobwebby,
yeah,
very fine. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And the way I handle that, it was usually an indication of a tool that I just wasn't using anymore, so I usually sold it.
It's your table saw was covered with them.
Covered with it.
It looked like a cocoon.
I did a live broadcast last night for the Renaissance Woodworker, and I was talking about how I never use my tail vise anymore. If you look into the hole on my workbench, there's so many cobwebs wrapped around the vise screw in there. So yeah. It's just a sign that it's time to rip the tail vise out and sell it. So
there you go.
It's an indicator.
That's good.
There are helpful friends, the spiders, telling you what you don't need anymore.
Maybe you could just get some like birds to hang out in your shop. And they'll go after the spiders.
There was bird crap everywhere.
Oh,
the bird flew in the garage door and it didn't know how to get out, and it kept like beating against the back window and just freaking out and just crapping everywhere. I was like, "Stop it!
Get out of here, you bird!
Quit crapping on my tool!"
Oh, that's terrible. Matt, you ever had any pests in the shop?
In the summer, it's really prevalent. I get a lot of insects in the shop. If I leave the doors open at night with the lights on, they just come right down in there.
Yeah.
And if I leave the shop and I open the door, all the bugs up against the glass, they all come flying in. So I usually have to deal with a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of like house flies, things like that. So the cobwebs or spider webs are kind of nice because that catches them. And I also have a small bug zapper out there, which kind of takes care of the flying things.
Mm-hmm.
Spiders don't really bother me a whole lot. Like I said, I kind of like seeing the other insects in their webs. Kind of makes me feel happy. And then at some point, I'll just kind of, when I feel like cleaning the shop, I just vacuum up the spider webs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. They are part of the pest control ecosystem.
Yeah.
So there's a good argument for leaving them there if they're not bothering you.
It's kind of fun to like direct the flies into the net,
the
webs, and then they're stuck and you can watch them die.
Yeah,
kind of
you're that spider's biggest fan.
You used a magnifying glass on anthills when you were a kid, didn't you, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like killing things. Okay. Matt, I think you're up.
Oh, wow. Look at this. This is from Jen. She says, we're rehabbing an old workbench, and my question is about finishing. The online answers are convoluted at best, and I wanted expert opinions. But since I don't have access to you
came
guys,
to the wrong place.
You had to see that one coming. Come on.
It's like I didn't even read that part of the question, and I was going to make that joke, and she did it for me. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Should I use boiled linseed oil, Danish oil? Do you have a different suggestion? Love you guys. Love the show. Thank you. So I thought this would be kind of interesting because we all have workbenches. We all have finish on them. So my approach to my workbench was when I finished it, I'm like, what do I have like an old can of that I need to get rid of? So my workbench is finished in outdoor oil because that's what I had. I didn't plan on using it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a utility thing.
It's a good
just
point.
There,
I've
so
got
when I spill glue on it, it won't stick.
I've got like a 10-year-old can of outdoor oil that would be perfect for that sitting over here. Good idea.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good way to use up that last little bit of finish in the can.
Would you guys agree with the fact that most people overthink this?
Yep.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
No question. I do not put finish on my bench. I did not finish my bench. It is finished now because, like, you know how you apply that last coat and there's still a little bit on the brush or still a little bit in the rag? That wipes on the bench right there.
There you go.
All of my jigs, my shooting boards, all the stuff gets a little wiped down at that point. You know, I've got bits of milk paint on my bench. I've got some shellac down here. There's some varnish on the other side. Yeah, it's
like a finishing swatch sample for ash.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. This is what ash looks like under Armor Seal, and here's what it looks like under Endurovar.
Right.
Here is a nice garnet shellac. This is a 3-pound cut.
It's milk paint.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the Workbench is going to get beat up if you're using it, and you don't want too much of a film finish. It kind of sort of defeats the purpose of having a nice grippy work surface and something that would look terrible as soon as it gets, hit with a wayward screw or a wayward chisel. So a light duty, easily refreshed finish is probably your best bet. So I think any of the ones she's thinking about are probably fine. But honestly, for me, Danish oil, which is a lot like that outdoor oil formulation, is probably very much like a Danish oil, is a good oil varnish blend. I think is a great choice. And a couple of coats will do you, and then start using it, and then reapply as needed when needed.
Because remember, if you ever reflatten your bench, you're just going to take off all the finish.
There goes all the finish. Oh boy, I need to do that actually. I got a flattening in my future. Shannon, you're up.
Yeah. I question, do you really need to reflatten the bench?
No, I don't.
Somebody asked me that question the other day, and I took a straight edge to my bench, specifically saying the last time I flattened my bench is when Mark Spagnolo asked me to flatten it for his Rubo
Yeah, can you
build.
demo that for me?
He wanted me to do it by hand, so I did a video on that. That was the last time I flattened my bench. It's still flat.
I remember that.
So.
I said, Shannon, could you do a demonstration of flattening with hand tools? And all I heard was... But I got the video out of him, so that was good.
Because it's you.
Good stuff.
Right, we've got another email here that I'm not quite sure what's going on. It's kind of like the Keith comment. So this is from Sean. He says, "Gentleman, Nair for Men actor, and Rigatone Spagnols." So I know who Rigatone Spagnols is.
Yeah, I get
Nair
that.
For Men actor, is that Matt? And am I the gentleman? I don't know.
Nair for
Because
Men.
I'm pretty hairless, so I could also be a Nair for Men actor.
I don't think the Nair for Men actor would be Matt because he's way too hairy.
It's got to be.
Unless it's like ironic.
Yeah, so you're the gentleman.
See, and that's what throws me off. Because Matt, gentleman, no. Anyway, Sean says, "I'm looking for a stupidly stable hardwood. It'll be used for making a bracket for a shop-made rip fence, so dimensional stability is my biggest concern. What are some good species that I might actually find here in Denver?" I'd like to thank Shannon in advance for his well-thought-out answer. Let's hope I can hear it through the other two's giggling. Go Buffs. Go Buffs. Way to hear that. He put that in there. And hey, look, Colorado, University of Colorado t-shirt for those that are watching the live stream right now.
Is that what that is?
That's what that is.
Look at that.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll sing the fight song for you guys later. It'll be good.
Please do.
So the most dimensionally stable species that I know is Ipe. But here's the thing. You want to look at most of the technical specs. If you go to the wood database, if you actually go to my company's site at McIlvain.com, you'll see the tech specs on each product page. You'll see tangential movement, you'll see radial movement, and those will be percentage numbers. And then most of them will have a TR ratio number. That's tangential to radial ratio. Ipe is, most places will print it at 1.1. 1 being perfectly isometric. It moves the same in both directions. Ipe is actually less than 1.1, but people just round up. It moves almost the same in both directions. So it's not that you're looking for a wood that moves very little. You're looking for wood that moves the same in both tangentially and radially. So Ipe is probably the most common one. You're certainly going to be able to find that in Denver. Anybody who sells decking is going to have Ipe. But it is harder than rock. It's a Janka hardness of 3,600 some pounds per square inch. But it doesn't mean that you can't work with it. I know lots of people who build benches and stuff out of it. That would be the easiest thing. But if you're just curious, go over to the wood database and look up that TR number, or look for TR ratios of one, and see what Google yields for you. More than likely, you're going to find all kinds of species, and it all just comes down to what can I actually obtain, which is why I go back to eBay.
Okay. Wonderful.
There was definitely not enough giggling in the background. Let's
Okay.
do that again.
That's enough just from Mark.
Yeah, do it one more time. I think I more than made up for it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Okay, do you...
It's definitely not your thing.
No,
It's
it's
the
not.
giggling to me.
Okay, fine. You're the giggler. Okay, so we have a quick question I threw in here as a co-answer question. This is from Amanda at Rustic Duck Furniture. This is a content question, so if you don't like that stuff, you could probably... It's the last question of the show, so you can turn it off now if you want to. In the last episode, just warning people, I know they don't like it. Just giving them a heads up. In the last episode, Mark mentioned getting rid of his Capex in part to be able to be more relatable to his audience. My question is that, as content creators, how do you decide... Oh man, this single column thing is driving me nuts. I got to fix this. Let's see, where is it? My question is, as content creators, how do you decide what level to keep your content at to be able to appeal to the masses? You all have a wealth of experience and talent. Do you find that sometimes you have to pare it down, or do you find it difficult if when filming a project as a tutorial, the experience in you would use XYZ tool or finish, but then maybe have to change your method because Joe Public is not likely to have that? Thanks in advance. Love the show. Well, I could say personally all the time. This is something I always think about. The way I would woodwork and the tools I would use to do it would look very different if I didn't have a camera over my shoulder constantly. I've established a business that can afford certain equipment. If I wanted to go to that level, that equipment would make it easier, potentially more fun, and I would certainly be able to get certain things done in a much simpler way. But it's a money question. It would put me and outpace the budget of most of my audience. But there is a limit. So I know there are a lot of folks, there's a lot of channels out there who very much appeal to the weekend woodworker who is going and buying, I don't want to disparage any tool brands, but your lower grade tool brands and just getting things done. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that gets to a point where I'm no longer happy doing this. So even though I know I might actually get a bigger audience if I directly appealed to that crowd, I have to draw a personal limit at a certain level that I find no longer fun. So I'm sure you guys do this to some extent, maybe not as much as me. I don't know. What's your perspective on it? Let's go to Matt.
I guess I'm almost kind of more opposite of you. I just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole reason I kind of got into content creation, was to be able to work the way I want to with the tools that I have, the tools I want to use, and kind of go from there. I mean, I have delayed some of the tool upgrades. I could have afforded things a long time ago, or I could have put those in place a long time ago. I just haven't done it, like put a Sheelix head in my planer, or I just did the dust collector thing, so I have a Cyclone coming finally.
You're just waiting for someone to send it to you for free.
No, I'm waiting for someone to stand for me for free and pay me to take it.
Our version of free.
Amateur.
Our version of free. Yeah. No, I get it. Well, no, see, I respect that. Now, is there a point, let's say, who wouldn't want a giant, big, wide belt sander? Like something hardcore, right? Or maybe even at the William Ing School, I always go back to this Williams Felder planer that has a digital, automatic lift system in it, so you could dial into the nearest thousandth how thick you want your material, and the stuff comes out of it doesn't even need to go through the sander. It's like it's been not sanded to 220, but hand planed is the quality of the surface that comes out of this thing. So is there a point where you would not let that come into your shop for show reasons or for content reasons?
Well, yeah.
No. Well, for Shannon.
but you know what? That's a good point, because I've had stuff like that, has come my way, like power tools that would be really beneficial, in a hand tool shop, and it's just not the way I want to work. Mm-hmm. I think it would be I would be called a sellout, and I would have to say you're absolutely right, because I wouldn't really use this tool. It's not the way I like to work. But bringing it into the shop just to show it I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it.
Okay, fair enough. So anything else you guys want to add to that, or should we just close off the show? Let's just pinch it off. Okay, so if you want to leave us a review in iTunes, we appreciate that. That always helps. Just go to the iTunes store, look us up, and click on ratings and reviews. And let's see what else. You can help us out on Patreon, patreon.com/woodtalk, or you could buy a t-shirt that says Woodtalk on it. It's pretty cool. It's at twwstore.com. And Shannon, why don't you give them the contact info, and we'll get out of here.
I'd love to. If you have comments, questions, or topic suggestions, there are lots of ways to get it in our earballs. You can send us a voicemail. If you use your voice memo app, send that to woodtalkonline@gmail.com. You can use our contact form at woodtalkshow.com/contact, or just go to this episode on woodtalkshow.com and leave a comment at the bottom. We're everywhere you want to be. We're at Instagram. We're in Twitter, both of those at Woodtalk Show. We're also on the Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That we are. All right. That's a good show. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
See you. Bye.
Goodbye to you.
Go Buffs.
I hit stop just as you were saying that. So you missed it. Exactly. That's probably what I got. All right. Let's get the next one up. I think we need a drink of water. Man, we're going to my lunchtime. It's almost noon.
I haven't had lunch yet. Shut up.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, really? You guys are later than me. Jeez.
I haven't even showered from my yoga class yet, so I'm a sweaty, sticky mess.
I want to hear about your yoga class. Stupid yoga.
Did you guys see? Did you see what Vic posted of Pat Robertson, who thinks yoga is evil?
I did see that. I saw that.
The devil. I was just like, that's so awesome. I've watched it like 6 times and it's just laughing my butt off. Hot yoga.
I did yoga with Nicole once, and I was farting uncontrollably, so I was kicked out very quickly.
That's the stand-up comic. What's his name? Mike Birbiglia says that yoga is basically stretching and holding in farts.
Yeah,
it's really all it is.
All right. So we got 2 voicemail questions coming in the second show. There's our emails, and there's a lot of I'm gonna have to try to pare down that dude's like giant thing he wrote. This Brian guy. Okay. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Take a break. I'll be right back.
Matt's Hot Pockets are ready.
No.
What was that?
The stupid stopwatch that Lindsay has down here. It always goes off. And I don't know how to turn it off.
Is that the ovulating stopwatch?
No. We didn't actually even do that. Just,
Time to get a third one.
We just got down to it, And then there's a baby in there suddenly.
That's how it works. All of a sudden. Who needs sex ed? Just works.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I am so sick of, at the risk of, this is not political. I'm just so sick of hearing about NFL players kneeling and not kneeling. Can we move past that now?
Probably not.
It's pervading every single thing in like every social media platform. Everywhere I go, I get to hear about NFL players kneeling or not kneeling. And I'm just so sick of it. There's just so many more important things to worry about in life.
I got one of those in my Halloween Bowl repost because at the beginning I did this thing where like, hey, it's fall. It's a great time of year. Football's on and blah, blah, blah. And just that one comment resulted in multiple people going, I will not support the NFL because they are anti-American. I'm like, ban. I really honestly do not give 2 craps about your opinions on this. Okay. I should have really abbreviated that guy's question. Do you see that one?
Yeah.
Should I make Matt read that?
I like that he spells Cremona with a K.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's appropriate.
It's very like Soviet Russia.
Cremona.
In Soviet Russia, we spell Cremona with a K. We spell ceremony with a K too.
Okie dokie. 10:16. That all looks good. Show 4:14. All right, let's do it.
We spelled David's name phonetically. Pachito.
Pachito.
Welcome to Wood Talk. Now here are 3 guys who have chiseled good looks. In their joinery, Mark, Shannon, and Matt.
All right, it's show number 414 for October 16th, 2017. Today we're going to talk about frivolous upgrades. Should everyone create content? Is building a workbench a rite of passage? And 2 blades for the table saw. And we're going to actually start out just by jumping right into our voicemails here. First one is from Corey regarding UV stability in wood.
Hey Mark, Matt, and Shannon. My name's Corey. I'm calling from Georgia. My question today is about photoreactive woods. I recently came across some really nice figured red heart, and I know that wood is very reactive when it comes in contact to UV light. What can I do to minimize that response so that the wood doesn't discolor? Appreciate your answer.
Keep it out of the sun!
Put it in the dark room. No windows.
This is a common concern, right? People want to know how to, like Purple Heart, Paduke. There are certain woods that are just going to change color with exposure to UV, and folks want to prevent that from happening. So this is something I never really worry about too much because
paint it.
There you go. Paint it the exact color you want.
Oh.
Right, there you go. You want Purple Heart? Paint it purple.
Perfect.
Man, that's like an epiphany moment right there.
Is there any realistic long-term solution for this that we could recommend?
Other than reapply? Like sand down, reapply? No.
Refresh it every couple of years?
Right, like take a 64th of an inch off and put more finish back on.
I mean, the problem is it's a losing battle. It's not only UV exposure, it's oxidation. There are things that are just going to it's contact with these the normal elements of a piece of furniture just existing in our world. It's at the very most you're going to delay the inevitable, but eventually it will get there. It will do what it wants to do. So going through all kinds of crazy steps and putting on like a thick, like an outdoor finish, like a big Epiphanes UV resistant finish, is only going to delay it, and it's also going to probably make it look like crap if it's like an interior piece of furniture, because you don't want that big thick film finish on there. So if the way I look at it is make sure you like what it turns into, because that's what it's going to be anyway. Yeah. If you're buying it because of what it looks like when it's freshly milled, then you're probably buying the wrong species because you're just up for an uphill battle. Okay. That was quicker than I thought it was going to be. I thought we'd have more to say about that, but let's go on to Lyle's question. All right.
Hi, it's Lyle Friesen from Friesen Woodcraft here in sunny Alberta. Just a little question here about flattening slabs with a router. I was wondering how you guys did it. I've done a couple here, and I have a 1 1/8 inch bottom cleaning router bit, brand new. It's tough to get a finish without little lines across there, if you know what I'm talking about, with the router sled that wobbles a bit or maybe flexes a bit. I just wondered how you did that. The one I did here was I had to do with a belt sander at a 45 degrees 80 grit belt sander afterwards and try and get that all cleaned up. Would you expect a finer finish from a router bit, or what do you think? What do you think on that? That's and I'd just like to give a shout out to belt sanders. I don't hear them mentioned very often, but I really love mine. It's a Bosch low profile, one of those square ones. You can really do some damage with it, but I think it's very easy to control it too. And I really like mine. I really like to promote those things. Thanks for now.
I like to listen to Lyle breathe. It's very, very calming to me. It's like a meditation. So flattening with a router is something I've done a couple of times. It does sound like he must have some flex in his little apparatus or carriage that he is using for this, because these flat bottom bits typically do, make a fairly flat bottom. But even then, they're never really perfect. Just by the nature of the beast, you're probably going to have a little bit of variability in the surface. And for me, I just use a number 80 cabinet scraper to clean it up. It wasn't bad enough to require anything more than that. So the number 80 followed up by some simple sanding with a random orbit sander and going up to my final grit, and I was done. So, I mean, he might look into reinforcing his sled if he truly thinks that it's flexing and that's creating part of his problem. But belt sander seems like a perfectly reasonable solution. Now, of course, we know Shannon uses hand tools for his flattening. Matt, have you done a router sled method for your bench?
So dismissive.
It is. Let's not even talk to Shannon on this one.
I did it for the bench. I do it for cutting boards. I did it for the farmhouse table. I do it for smaller slabs that fit in my shop easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really expect the finish off the router to be like a finish kind of thing. I kind of figure it's more a roughing operation than anything. I'm going to have to clean it up. The biggest thing, if it's flexing, you would expect it to scoop and have like a cup effect in your work. What I usually see is that my setup isn't totally perfect, and I get lines because the bit is kind of skewed a little bit, or it's not perfectly perpendicular to the travel of the sled, so it's kind of at an angle. So one corner digs in while the other one's up in the air. But it's not usually that much where it's like, okay, it's roughed out, it's flat. Let me hit it with my 80 grit on my random over sander and be done with it, and that just cleans it up. I'm gonna have to clean up regardless because it's just a roughing operation. But if it's really bad that you have to use a belt sander, something else is up. And it could also be, I mean, I use an 1.5 wide bit, so I have a little more coverage per pass. So maybe with the additional passes that he's making with a smaller bit, he's getting more ridges to get rid of. That could be a thing too. You know, it's all speculation.
We're just speculating.
We're just speculating.
Speculating. Okay, let's get into our emails. And we've got one here from, I don't see a question for you here, Matt, so you might want to work on that.
Yeah, well, you know, because I didn't pick one, so.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
Okay, I just didn't feel like it.
All right. But if you know,
the whole two-show thing is really messing with me. Because I always pick my one question, and then I'm done. But apparently, it's not the case anymore.
There's a little bit more work, almost double the amount of work.
Next time, I will. I'll work on that.
Okay.
Funny how that doubles.
Yeah.
2 shows.
So we got a question from Clem here. He says, "Hi guys, fun podcast to listen to. I'm finally getting my shop done after about 3 years. I'm retired now, and I'm getting ready to set up my table saw. It's a pretty old Delta, does a decent job, cuts very good. My question is actually fairly simple. I want to buy 2 very, very good saw blades. I understand Forest can be the top of the line. My question would be, if you were able to buy 2 very good saw blades, which would you buy for the table saw? Thank you." Okay, so my first question is, why do we need to buy 2? Now, I know there are people who are very, very adamant about using a rip blade and a crosscut blade separately in their shop. I'm not one of those people. I do nearly 100% of my table saw activity with a 40-tooth combo blade. I do have a Forest blade. I have just recently been using Lights blades from the folks at Very Super Cool Tools. And Tenru makes a fantastic blade. You could even buy the higher-end Freud stuff, and that's really, really good too. So I find a 40-tooth to do just about everything I need it to do. The quality is where I want it to be. So I don't feel that there's really a need for 2. If I were going to go to 2 blades, I would probably get a specialty blade instead of going for like rip and crosscut. I would get like a square grind blade. I know Forest has a good number 1 grind, which has a nice square tooth configuration, and you could use that for lots of joinery applications. So you don't get those ridges. You could do rabbets and grooves, and a lot. It just becomes more versatile for you than a alternating bevel blade. So that's what I would do. I would get a specialty blade and then a 40-tooth combo and call it done. But that's just me.
I work with that same Forest woodworker too. Like that was like the first upgrade blade that I bought because some weird Italian guy told me that's what I should buy.
Hey, I buy it. It's a blade.
and basically that was the only blade I used, other than like when I would use a dado. But
yeah,
I just never saw a need to go any further than that. I probably am missing out. I never realized how clean a rip cut could be because I wasn't using a ripping blade, but I also never really looked at a table saw edge and went, man, that looks terrible. I need a better blade. Or it was, I got to clean my blade because it looks terrible.
Well, I know, Matt, you switch, right? You like having separate blades.
I do.
You just like doing more work? What's the deal?
It doesn't bother me. I don't understand why people complain about changing saw blades.
It's like a whole 30 seconds.
It's so fast. It's
down the toilet.
To do.
Look, I don't
understand the reasoning.
I got more important things to do with 30 seconds than change a blade.
But Matt does it fast because he just leaves it running. He just
he does it on the go.
Sticks the wrench into the bolt and just nails it, and it unscrews and comes off. And yeah,
I catch it in the air, do a little trick, spin it around, throw it in the cabinet.
It is something to behold. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I don't know. So I had this really interesting thought over the week as I was out there doing this because I had just used the combination blades for the first time at Mark's shop, and I was thinking about this other corollary that we kind of have pretty often, which is a whatever, like a horse and a half or horse and three-quarter table saw enough power, and some people find it to be not enough power or whatever. I'm kind of thinking now that the people who don't think it has enough power, and the reason I thought it was fine was because people are using combination blades, and I'm using blades dedicated to exact tasks. So I never noticed an issue because the blades are more efficient at those tasks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Is that a thing maybe?
And as long as they're using thin kerf versions as well.
I'm using full kerf on that saw.
Really?
On horse and three-quarter, the old rigid. It was full kerf, dedicated blades, no problem at all.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Could very well be.
I did away with the thin kerf blade. I never really saw a whole lot of advantage to the thin kerf blade, so I just went to a full kerf. I just found it easier to do the math too.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
You know, it was more of an even fraction.
That makes sense. Okay, Shannon, I think you're up.
No.
Go.
I wanna.
Go.
Let's see. Is this from Sean? Didn't I already take a message from Sean? I feel like it did.
You like Sean.
Anyway. He said, specifically, he's actually talking to Mark in this question, because he says,
but I'm going to take it anyway.
I'm taking it anyway.
Hey, I'm here. Good thing.
He says, you mentioned, meaning Mark, mentioned the rite of passage building one's bench and how you didn't agree with it. Your reasoning was sound, can't argue with it. So my question is, do you still agree with 2010 Mark? And the single column thing is biting me in the butt now.
Right.
And I want to hear Matt and Shannon's opinion on the workbench and viewing it as a rite of passage. Thanks, guys. Love the show, and thanks for not quitting.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
I love that sign.
We are here to not quit.
So the reason I grabbed this is because I had, to quote Matt, an epiphany moment. And when I was building the workbench for that orientation semester I released very recently at the hand tool school, it was kind of like, you know what, there's nothing, I don't know that it's necessarily a rite of passage to build a workbench, but I think what happens is there's so much exposure to like these great, glorious Rubo and Nicholson style workbenches with, you know, $1,000 worth of vices and all this great stuff on it, that we think of it as a rite of passage because we think that the bench we build is the last bench we'll ever have. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And I am a culprit. I built a Rubo workbench. You know, it was like I guess technically the second workbench I ever built. But like the one that I just built was thrown together with construction lumber. It was relatively easy to build. It was bolted together. And the thing you have to recognize is the bench you're building isn't necessarily the last bench you're ever going to build. So all of the like ridiculous designing and planning going into what am I going to need on this bench? What am I going to need 10 years from now on this bench? Build a workbench that's going to suit your needs now, that's going to suit your budget now, suit your space now, and don't fool yourself into believing that you're never going to build another workbench. So in that respect, I think it can be a rite of passage, just getting some exposure to certain joinery, maybe challenging yourself with a new joint or something on it, but don't like overcomplicate the thing and try to make just an incredible, glorious bench that's going to last for 40 years because who knows what you're going to be doing in 40 years.
Right. You know, he's talking about an article, I guess, I wrote, and I should have gone back to read it to find out what my 2010 opinion was, actually. You know,
I think it was more about build or buy.
Okay.
Sorry, there was a little part of this question that I deleted out that I was just trying to trim it down. So he said something about build or buy, and I think that's what your article was.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, it can be a rite of passage. A workbench is a very important, critical component to the wood shop. It's very personal to the woodworker. So it has all of that rite of passage sort of juice all over it. And I think a lot of times the
way you phrase things, I don't know.
I like to be very descriptive. I want to highlight
passage juice.
I want to light up your imagination when I describe things.
Very Lord of the Flies connotation.
Did you get that passage juice from my scroll board?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's disgusting.
Oh,
you're awful.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Oh man, we're not child friendly anymore. Okay, so the thing is with
on this.
You know, I really think it can be a rite of passage, but like anything that's rite of passage, I think there's a lot of opinion tied to these things. Like, and ultimately, who cares? Like the whole concept of a rite of passage is just it's goofy, right? But I'll use that terminology because I think it is a cool project. It's a fun thing. You put a lot of work into it, for something that just ultimately is a tool that you're going to use in the shop. So that's why it gets that sort of rite of passage, thing label thrown on it. So whether you call it that or not, who cares? Ultimately, if you buy a workbench and it suits your needs and you could build stuff with it, are you denying yourself something by not building your own workbench? I think some people would say yes, but I don't think so. I mean, if you're just building furniture and you're building what you want to build, who cares? So, I mean, I still agree with myself, even though I might sound contradictory when I say that the workbench can be a rite of passage kind of project, but ultimately just get a bench in your shop and start working. To sort of contradict Shannon a little bit here, unless I drastically change my methodology, maybe I'm trying to envision a scenario in which I would look at this workbench that I have and think I might need to make another one. Like that. Now that I have this bench, I have removed the thought of any other type of workbench or the need to build another workbench from my brain. Like, I'm married to this bench. I don't see any reason why I would ever do anything different than what I have. Even if I went more hand tool.
I can agree with that, because the bench you built, I think, is at the end of the continuum.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's at one extreme. So people who don't have, I think the Rubo workbench is like one of the most refined workbench designs out there. It's kind of infinitely scalable. You can do so much with it, but there's a lot of people who look at that and go, man, that's a major project.
Yeah.
Or you look at, now when you start adding bench crafted hardware and like crisscross mechanisms and all that cool stuff, and you have no bench, I don't know. I think that's something to shoot for. And what you may find is by building, just something out of construction lumber that you can start working on, you'll be able to diagnose and have your epiphany moment of what's missing from this bench and what would, a better design do for me.
Sure.
So,
well, this is my third. This is my third workbench.
Yeah, there you go.
The first one was your construction grade lumber and plywood sandwich for the top. Second one was an overhanging, very thin top.
Dumb.
Yes.
Dumb bench.
It was. With the overhang and the apron, the 8/4 apron around the side and a twin screw Lee Valley vise. And then I graduated to this.
Yeah. What hack can build good furniture on a bench that looks like David Marks's bench?
David Marks has a quick release, a quick screw vise on his workbench. I think a lot of people might be surprised by that. If you know what I mean? Just in terms of like, I don't know, quick screw vices are what are they? Quick release vices. They're really handy, but they don't seem to work their way into like classic workbenches. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're actually pretty damn handy. Okay. Matt, did you find a question or we just want to skip you?
Do you want me to give my thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, that's right.
No.
Sometimes we might overlook you a little bit, but go ahead.
I'm hiding in the corner over here. That's
all
right.
Hi, I'm Matt. I have an opinion too.
I don't really have much opinion that's different from you guys. So I'm on my third bench, just like you are, Mark. First one was kind of the same thing, except I used the 2x8s for like the top laid down flat, and then the second bench was 2x4s glued up, and then the third bench is the one I have now. And as far as making another bench, I can think of a scenario where I would build a new one, and that's if I had space, and I wouldn't get rid of the one I have now. I would have two benches just to have more workspace in this theoretical giant shop I have.
Yes, this imaginary shop of the future.
Yes, I would probably do like a 10 or a 12-foot workbench for the main one with like a ridiculously thick top. So like just massive. I want it to weigh like a lot. Because that sounds kind of cool, like a fun project to do where you're like making a top out of like 6 inches thick at least.
Sounds like a friggin' nightmare is what that sounds like.
It does, but I tend to gravitate towards nightmares. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's just it. Like a single slab top, 6 inches thick, finished.
Explains why he joined the show, actually.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
it does.
Gravitating toward a nightmare. That's cool, though.
There's your show title, Gravitate Towards
Well,
Nightmare.
you do things on a very large scale. So that certainly makes sense.
I can. Yeah, I think because going back to the content thing, I think it would make interesting content to see someone make a bench of that thickness. I saw that. I forgot who it was. I saw it on Instagram. He had done that up here. He flew up here to do it for someone, and it was like 6 inches thick at the top. It was awesome. It was incredible. It was beautiful, and now it's in my mind that I want that, but bigger.
Oh, okay. That sounds fun.
that French oak roubeau project that Shores and Jameel Abrahams did? Wasn't that like 5 or 6 inches thick? Those massive slabs.
That rings a bell.
Yeah.
I know one of my Hinchell School apprentices was part of that, and I got to see his bench in California, and I mean that was impressive. It was a really majorly thick top, and just
I mean, it's not functionally different, but it just looks epic.
It's just
it looks pretty awesome.
It's not going to make my woodworking any better, but it's going to look epic.
Yeah. I thought I was pretty impressive with my 4-inch here. Jeez, 6-inch. That's crazy.
And mine's 4 5/8 right now.
Yeah. Wow.
And that actually leads nicely into our next question about frivolous upgrades.
Sure does. Okay, this one is from Matt, not our Matt, another Matt. And what's an unnecessary upgrade that you've purchased, and why was it worth it? For example, I bought some ketchup and mustard dispensers for glue and found the consistent bead and ability to get into tight spaces to be phenomenal. Another example is that I bought a 1.5-inch wide Japanese chisel and found the iron to rest flat on the handle goes in an angle. I'm reading this ridiculously. Okay, let's just say it worked great. Small and frivolous upgrades, but delightful to work with. What other small upgrades have you guys found for me to spend my money on? Okay, here we go. I'm trying to think about this. I look around and I actually see a lot of frivolous upgrades, because honestly, for me, woodworking, while it is technically a job, it's still something that's really fun for me. Yeah. So there are upgrades that I do just because I want to. So I have trouble looking around and finding an upgrade that couldn't be interpreted as frivolous by someone.
That's true.
Right? Do I need all Lee Nielsen hand planes? Nope. Do I need, $80 a piece Japanese chisels? Nope. You know what I mean? Like, it's
They're
because
full of glue again anyway.
They are. I mean, it's been a couple weeks since you left, so they are all very. Actually, I was cleaning up glue on these frames with one of them, and I'm like, Matt would be very angry with me right now. But I saved those for the Narex chisels. I didn't use my Japanese chisels for that. But yeah, I mean, because this is part job, part hobby, it's now something where I've got a business that can justify, that's with air quotes, buying things that aren't necessarily entry level anymore. So a lot of what I'm surrounded with is fairly frivolous things. I would say, a lot of the tech that's in my shop. I've got a pretty nice monitor here with a good computer. Of course, I do podcasting and live broadcasts from it, so it's got to be a decent computer. But I've got a gear cabinet right next to me that just has a ton of stuff that it's not as it's nicer than it needs to be. Let's put it that way. Can you guys think of specifics on this one?
So you're saying a shop full of Hue smart bulbs is a frivolous upgrade, so that I can do my disco parties?
That might be the best example that we have to work with.
No, I have the best example, I think. Certainly, the new Concepts fret saw is a really nice upgrade, but I wouldn't consider it frivolous because I consider it to be probably the best fret saw on the market. But the Elkhead Tools Cocobolo handle that I bought to upgrade it is a major frivolous upgrade. But it is a joy to use because
don't you have a lathe, like 3 lathes?
Exactly.
And
so
that's what makes it frivolous.
No, actually, we don't bring in Cocobolo, but that's all right. It adds a lot of weight to the saw, so I'd actually find that it makes the saw work better because it's better balanced now. It's bigger for my big giant mitts, so it would probably be too big for Matt. Oh, yes. But I love it, and I think it's totally unnecessary because the handle that came with the new Concept saw, especially the ones they're putting out now, is perfectly fine. But this one's cool. It's got this really gorgeous brass ferrule on it that's got the etch of Elkhead Tools on it, which I wouldn't be able to do that on my lathes. So yeah, there you go. So frivolous to the point where I bought one for my coping saw too.
Well, they have to match. I mean, let's be realistic here.
That's Mark's influence. So.
Yes.
It's tough. I mean, and I think this might be difficult for people who listen or watch the stuff that we do. There's a natural sort of inclination to emulate what you see other people doing. And I think that is one of the challenges is the fact that, this is fun for us too. So we'll do frivolous things like this because of the pure love and joy of getting a well-made, nicely made tool that just makes life in the shop a little bit easier. But it certainly doesn't mean that these things are absolute necessities for us.
So I think it's part of the evolution too.
Yeah.
Once you get to the point where you kind of have the tools you need,
yes,
then it's like, well, what do I
look for an
upgrade?
excuse to upgrade.
Right. tool acquisition disorder never goes away.
I got this money I gotta spend
Money
somewhere, you know.
I got this Triton money burning a hole in my pocket.
Oh man, it's so heavy, it's so hot.
So Matt, you got a frivolous upgrade to give us?
So I'm definitely with you guys on the nice hand tools, that kind of stuff. Like everything in general, like it all works fine. I think my best specific example is my number 4 bronze, because my old restored plane worked totally fine, exactly the same way. I could pull exactly the same shavings, thick, thin, whatever, smoothing cuts, doesn't matter. But the bronze is just pretty to look at, and it's a little bit heavier. And I just feel like, I don't know, it just makes me feel good on the inside to hold it.
Feel good. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I didn't need it at all. But you're welcome, Thomas, for the money.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? My check edge marking knife I would put up there. Right? You could just use an X-Acto knife. It would be fine. Shannon, would you like to read this very, very long question here?
Sure, why not?
This is from Brian, and by the way, this is a little bit more of a serious topic, but it does deal with content creation, and I'm actually curious to hear from my co-hosts here on their thoughts of this. Abbreviate as needed because it's a very long question.
Okay, Brian says, "Hey dudes, here's the TLDR because I write too dang much. Jackman Works posted a rustic door he made to Reddit. Reddit tore it to shreds. It made me wonder why the hell everyone seems to think they need to be a content creator these days, myself included. Am I the only one who feels like woodworking would have remained a more meaningful part of life if I had never started sharing it with strangers? Tonight I saw a Reddit woodworking / DIY cross post that got very popular. The post resonated with me in all the wrong ways, and I felt compelled to share. The project was made, where we go? Project was made and shared from Jackman Works. I never heard of him, so I looked him up, and he's a content creator, in quotes, and can be found wherever fine social medias are sold.
Paul Jackman. That's who it is.
Yeah. His content is fine. His content is fine. His products are nice. Reclaimed work is clearly his niche. The post was about a door he built for his grandparents out of lumber that his great-grandfather had left behind. It was in that rustic style that everyone loves or hates. He intentionally left in bug holes, tool marks, and pith. He made an odd choice of poplar for the panels, but hey, it's his door. So as long as he keeps the indoors in and the outdoors out, who cares? I'm not even writing about the quality of his project. It's the response that moved me. The keyboard warriors of Reddit let loose and just unloaded on Jackman Works. It seemed to be a personal challenge to tell him his door sucked in clever ways.
Welcome.
Well, that's the internet. So,
armchair code enforcers and insurance adjusters let him know all of the ways in which the door would financially ruin or kill his grandparents. All this hate. Right, when you're least expecting it. All this hate for a door intentionally made of ruffled materials with sentimental value. This made me wonder, why does seemingly everyone need to be a content creator today? I personally struggled with this for a while. I sought your advice as well as David Picciuto's. I spent endless hours in YouTube Creator Academy. Oh, geez.
Oh, boy.
Countless dollars on cameras I still can't operate well. Recorded, edited, published, and made a few sweet bucks in YouTube advertising money. Yeah, few is the operative word there. Mm-hmm. Then, bam! About 20 videos in, I realized I was emulating the woodworkers whose content I cut my teeth on instead of walking my own path. Why did I want to be a content creator? This is the first I've tried to answer this question. If I'm being honest, I think it's because I love woodworking, and content seems like the most direct way to make it profitable in a world that doesn't always reward woodworking skill and labor. But I don't have a good personality or presence for YouTube. I'm thin-skinned and feed trolls. I hate the sound of my own voice, and I hate attention. All I really want is to make cool stuff for my family and sometimes share it with other folks who want the same. Being a content creator turned my pleasure into work, and putting my projects in front of the critical eyes of strangers sucked the joy right out of the process. I've been ignoring my social media for months, but the response to Jackman's works made me clearly realize I'd be a hell of a lot happier if I just returned to the ways when woodwork was something I did for myself, not for the sweet, delicious internal karma. Was there a point to the story? Not really, except that I wonder if there is any part of the three of you that feels like you lost anything as a woodworker when you made the move to being professional content creators. Are there other woodworkers out just enjoying the craft in silence? Are we all just aspiring Walmart brand Spagnolos, Rogerses, and Cremonases? Interesting.
This is a big, big topic. And I know people don't like to talk about content creation because I think a large part of our audience are not content creators, right? So they don't want to hear that crap. They just want to talk woodworking. Let's learn woodworking. So let's put this out there. Not everybody does want to do this. Right. A lot of people are perfectly content to build and then maybe share a picture on social media and then call that done. So not everybody does want to do this, but clearly there is a trend toward this. I've noticed on Instagram, for instance, I get constantly requests for a sticker swap, which is fine. But what I get is the, hey, I'm just starting out. I'm brand new. Want to help me out with a sticker swap? And I'm just like, I'm just trying to think in my head, what the heck does a sticker swap have to do with this person's success as a woodworker? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm fine with it. I get the social community aspect of it, but I feel like their priorities and what they're trying to accomplish are sort of misplaced. And I'm having trouble figuring out exactly what are they trying to accomplish. It seems like I
think Brian's got a really good point buried in this paragraph about it seems to be the only way to make money. Yeah. Like instead of selling stuff for customers, like how we used to do it, you know, when I want to grow up and be a woodworker, now it's like, well, I can make money through content. Yeah. And when you start looking at even like the longtime professionals who have turned to like writing articles for magazines or opening up a school. And, now some of the guys that run schools, like I just saw William Eng drop, Lord knows how much into creating a studio.
Yes.
In the back of his school.
Yeah. Well, he stopped doing the school. I think the school's closed, not permanently, but temporarily to let him do videos.
So everybody seems to be moving towards this. And it's like, well, that's how you end up making your money. But he's so right. It will totally co-opt your skill development if you're not careful. And that gets real ugly real fast.
Yeah, this is tricky. Matt, you're newer to this than Shannon and I, but not by much, but a little bit.
A lot of bit.
What do you think about this? I mean, is it a money drive? Is this the path to quitting your day job? Is that the motivation?
So the thing I love about the idea of content creation, like online businesses, and what we do is that literally anyone can do it, but it takes the right person. That's the caveat.
Right.
So you can literally start. Anyone can do it anywhere in the world with not a whole lot. You can do it, but it is a huge demanding thing to do if you want to be successful at it. I guess depending on what your definition of success is. So when I was looking to transition into doing content creation from hobby woodworking and hobby video making too, it wasn't as hard as it was pretty easy. It was an easy decision. I'm like, this sounds a lot more interesting than sitting at a desk, which I still do, and working for someone else, which I don't do, or for myself now. But I still have the same amount of desk time. The heck was I saying? Dang it!
You're talking about your transition. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That the transition for you was easy.
Oh yeah, okay. So when I thought about like I want to do woodworking, I want to make money from my shop, thinking about the prospect of doing commission work didn't appeal to me at all, because I knew what I loved about what I was doing with my woodworking was being able to get into the shop and make whatever projects I wanted to make at the pace that I want to make them, or roughly that pace or whatever. I just want to do whatever I want to do and somehow make that my career, my way of generating income for my family. So content creation was like the only thing I could think of that would actually allow me to, do whatever I wanted to do, build the projects I want to build them in the way that I want to build them, and still make money doing that. And just by sharing what I'm doing with the rest of the world, I'm somehow able to make a living at this.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you were just building what you want to build, you'd make some very cool things, and you'd never make any money.
Like hopefully, I guess you would build them and then hopefully you sell them afterwards, more like an artist kind of thing. But
good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, my issue when I was building stuff, when I was doing craft shows and stuff, I started to get really bitter because I would pour all this, blood, sweat, and tears into these projects, and and craft shows are very different than making custom furniture, but you're selling it for like $10,
Mm-hmm.
$12, and it was just like, man, there's no way I can make a living doing this. And there's no possible way that I could actually price this item to the point where I felt like I was getting, it was worth what I put into it. So then it was, how can I, for lack of a better term, cut corners? How can I it was a quantity game at that point. How can I make more of that widget that I sold at $12? And now I want to sell 100 of those in order to make, the nut that you've got to make. And then it lost all joy at that point.
Yeah.
And, it's mass production, and it wasn't really something that I wanted to build. Or I'd do a show and I would sell something that I really wasn't expecting to sell a lot of. And it's like, all right, well, now I need to make more of those. And I didn't really like making it in the first place.
Yeah.
So now I got to go make 12 of them. And it was just like, this sucks, man. I want to build what I want to build. And that I think is starting to happen on the content creation side of things too. And I think that's kind of where Brian might be seeing some of this as well. First of all, it's harder now. There's no question it's harder now than it was when I got started, when Mark got started. I started with a Kodak 3 megapixel still camera that had a video function. That was what I used, 3.1 megapixels to be exact. And I did all of my filming on that. And it's very obvious when you look at my original videos because the resolution was terrible.
Yeah.
And at one point the motor, the autofocus motor went bad. So it made clicking noises. So you watch my videos and there's like this whir click going on, but there was no thought of going and dropping $5,000 on a camera, and going and buying a bunch of lights and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But now the level of professional quality video has gone up so much that certainly it's gotten a heck of a lot cheaper. I mean, an iPhone shoots incredible video, but I was not using Adobe Premiere Pro. I wasn't doing effects and After Effects. Nobody was, now all this stuff is commonplace. It's almost commonplace to see green screens in woodworking videos now.
Yeah.
I mean, David Picciuto is not the only one who's used a green screen a number of times. So there is a very high bar to be met. Moreover, there seems to be a lot more data out there about, well, if I built this or if I built these styles of projects, I'll get more subscribers or whatever. Well, if you don't want to build that kind of project, then what did Brian say? My passion is now work.
Yeah.
My fun is now work, or whatever. Pleasure is now work. And
well, there's absolutely, we have so much information at our fingertips in terms of statistics, and just you can immediately tell what resonates with the audience, what does well. And I could tell you, if I wanted to maximize my income and get the most views possible, there's a formula I could follow. I would probably build more shop furniture. I would do more shop tours, right? And I would
just build workbenches all day long, man.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a reason why Schwarz does that, let me tell you. But honestly, I think there's a limit to what I want to do. I've mentioned this in the past that I can only do so much of that stuff and still be happy with what I'm doing. So I have to draw the line somewhere. But it really does. If you look at the sort of landscape of videos that are out there, there is sort of this competition on who could be the most creative, who can come up with the project you just never thought of. Everyone's trying to outdo one another. Maybe not intentionally. It's not necessarily a competition thing. But
I think it's good-hearted competition.
Yeah. People are inspired to do more and to do better. But there's also sort of I feel like the negative side of this is everyone feeling like they have to do this. Like it's almost it's a cool kids club in a sense where, yeah, I could build furniture, but unless I'm telling people about it and showing them and getting lots of subscribers on YouTube, I'm wasting my time. So this is where I need to start, where they're not only getting their tools for the first time, but they're also worried about which DSLR camera they're getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that
there's been a major focus on cinematography skills. And, I love the first time that Jay Bates walked on the screen while Jay Bates was working on his table saw.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Right.
I was like, that's so cool. And I immediately started thinking, okay, how do you do that? I'm like, oh, I should totally do that. And then I saw someone else do it. And then someone else do it. And I was like, all right, come on now. That's the Jay Bates move.
Yeah. Yeah. I would honestly urge people to really, deep down, figure out what it is you're looking for out of this experience. For some people, it's a community, maybe they don't know many woodworkers locally. This is a great way to connect with other people, and the content creation gets them that. There's a degree of gratification. I think the three of us can certainly attest to that the besides the joy of building something, stepping back and looking at it and going, yeah, I just made this thing, there's additional gratification that I would feel was missing if I stopped doing this. And that is when you show it to thousands of other people and they go, yeah, nice job. There's something to that. That feels good. You know, that's that little feeder pellet that keeps us little rats making videos. You know, we're going back for more because it feels good. You know, and I think a lot of people are doing this because they want to learn more. So by making videos, you could put these things out there, making content. You could put these things out there and have a dialogue that's created. Now, sometimes that backfires, and that dialogue becomes this Reddit thing with Paul Jackman's work there, and that sucks. You know, but that's the double-edged sword of content creation, and you better be sure you want to get into that because it's coming. You know, especially if you do well and you're good at what you do, you are going to have haters, and it's just going to be part of what you do.
The fact is there are plenty of outlets. You know, Reddit is kind of notorious for being a Wild West, but, you know, I think it's one of the reasons Instagram has grown so much among woodworkers because it actually is a pretty cool community.
It is.
And as far as content creation goes, you're posting a photo. You know, I mean, certainly there's video and status updates and there you can game the system and all that stuff. But at its heart, you know, I'll snap a photo of something. And to me, that's very kind of low touch. Hey, this is what I'm doing in my shop. And I enjoy sharing that because then you get people going, hey, have you tried this? Or that's cool. I built that last week. And that's the social connection, you know? And that's one of the reasons that Instagram kind of has become all I really do anymore. You know, my Twitter posts are just cross-posted from Instagram. Pretty much likewise with Facebook. But there is a platform for you. Maybe just don't go to Reddit. But at the same time, I've seen some really cool stuff on Reddit. Like there's some really good conversations happening over on Reddit. It's just sometimes, you know, especially when your post gets popular, which it sounds like what happens with Jackman Works, and a lot of the non-woodworkers start to comment on it. You know,
that's the double-edged sword. Success brings with it exposure to other people who are potentially jerks. And you know what? The thing with Reddit's crazy. I don't really do much there other than like a couple of AMAs. Reddit has been very good to me, but it's good to me because I don't really post my content there. I think if I actually tried to get attention, you know, to my content by posting there, I might have a different impression. But yeah, I'm okay with Reddit. just in my relationship with them is perfectly fine. So I don't know. This is just kind of we're spitballing here a little bit, but ultimately I think people need to do a gut check on why you're getting into this, you know. And if you're getting, you know, you're focusing your research on which camera to buy at the same time as you're deciding which your first table saw, you know, purchase should be. I don't know. Is that the way to go? Like, what is there a sort of misguided notion with that, or is that okay?
I had a guy in the hand tool school community the other day. He was posting pictures of the Rubo workbench he was building, and you have the ability to kind of have your own little blog in the school community, so you could continue to post like your progress log on this. And like a month went by and there were no updates, and then suddenly it went from like I was laminating some top boards to hey, the bench is done. And he started the post by apologizing. I apologize, I haven't done any updates on the bench, or I didn't capture any of this on film, but here's the finished bench. And I was just like, dude, that's awesome. Like, just well, it's not awesome that he felt that he had to apologize, but it's just awesome that you just put down the camera and just got to work.
Yeah, just got work done, right?
And there's nobody that says you've got to be, you know, updating all the time and posting all these photos of what you're doing. But it seems like that's become like the expected norm now. And I actually even called it out in an update video I did for the school about, hey, just go build stuff. If you want to share, cool, but don't feel like you have to, you know? Yeah. I want to see more finished photos. I want to see finished pictures of the project because I derive inspiration from that. I don't need to see, let's face it, mostly out of focus photos.
Hey, they're fine.
Of a joint, you know, of a half cut joint that's been zoomed in too far and, you know, it doesn't really make any sense. So yeah, I don't know. At some point, the pendulum's going to swing the other way, right? And we're just going to stop posting everything.
I could honestly say that if, I guess if my financial situation were a little bit different, and let's say I didn't have to make content for, you know, to put food on the table and to pay my mortgage, I probably would participate a lot less. because I do feel like the content does. We talked about this many times, Matt. You've experienced this recently, sort of realizing how much work you can get done if you don't have to film everything, right? So I actually would, and if you're thinking about getting into this stuff, take this as a, at least a data point, is that someone who's been doing this for a decade would absolutely cut down dramatically on the amount of stuff that I would produce in terms of content for the sake of getting better at woodworking and being able to do more woodworking. I would like to, but I can't. It's part of my fiber of who I am now. I have to do this stuff, and it pays the bills.
I think people are a little misguided a little bit because they only see like all the benefits. And they don't really stop and think about like how much work it is and how much you're not really a woodworker anymore. You're just like, if you're actually doing it, you're a video producer that just happens to be producing videos about woodworking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to kind of get a feeling for it, the next time you're building a project, every single time you do any different operation, go sit in the corner for like, I don't know, a few minutes and then come back to what you're working on and see how that goes for a while.
You get a 20-minute rain delay and then go back to work.
And the other problem with that too is like you start forgetting things. Like when you get in the groove and you're like working, you're going through things, you get in the groove and you can kind of go through it pretty quickly. With all the interruptions, it takes even longer because you don't have that groove anymore because you're constantly stopping what you're doing something else, and then coming back to it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it does slow down the process a lot. So if you're thinking like, I want to be able to make as many things as possible in as little time as possible, probably not the best path for you.
Well, and here's another thing that gets me thinking about the motivations for this. I guess in other areas, you'll find this as well, especially online careers and things like that. But if you go down the list, I could probably off the top of my head name 20 people who started off making videos for fun, eventually they were able to quit their job and go full time in our space.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This
Absolutely.
happens all the time. That is a huge carrot that people chase, right? And let's take April Wilkerson as an example of a massive success story, right? So
seriously, she's got a pilot on, what is it?
DIY.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's gone from just a couple of years ago starting to make videos, and it's like, oh, this is cool. Here's someone who's fairly new to this, but she's got like a go-get-'em sort of attitude. This is very relatable and fun to watch. Her channel explodes, and now she's doing a pilot for a TV show. That's like, if there's anything that sort of embodies that, okay, this is an international thing, but I'm going to call it the American dream. That's it. So she was able to quit her job. Again, there's dozens of people who've been able to do that. And that's something that people aspire to, right? And we're all just kind of average people. I mean, we might be very skillful and some of us can be entertaining and funny, not this show, but other shows. And so people look at us and they go, look, these are just average schlubs. Yet they're able to quit their jobs. Matt does this full time. I do this full time. Shannon could do this full time, but his wife won't let him, right?
But I'm greedy. Yeah, pretty much. That's what it comes down to.
There's Sorry, Heather. I know that's the truth.
Oh, it's so true.
but right, that's inspiring to people, and I think that's maybe one of the biggest motivators. Is there is a little bit of a not, I don't want to call it get rich quick, but it is like the average person can go from, I'm just behind a desk doing my day job, to now I build things for a living, and it's fun. And I think that's incredibly tempting to people.
Yeah, but you gotta love the content creation as much as the woodworking.
You gotta love the community.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta love the community too, for all of its good and positive things and all of the crappy things.
Wait, so is that why I don't have very many YouTube subscribers?
Yeah. That could be a factor. You never know. Okay, well, I think we've driven this one thoroughly into the ground, and I think people who hate this stuff really don't like this show.
They already turned it off.
For those of you that hate this stuff, just let me tell you this: if you're going to bore out a mortise with an auger bit, make sure you're not going to sculpt the backside of the leg, or the points of the auger screw will poke through when you sculpt it. So there you go. There's a woodworking.
Very
tip.
good advice.
Well, that's a good way to round this out. Nicely done.
Yeah.
All right. How about you give them the contact info? Let's get out of here.
That was it.
Oh, that was the contact info?
Yeah, that was. I'm only allowed to talk once at the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
If you want to tell us how much you hate it when we talk about woodworking content creation, you can do that by sending us a voicemail at Woodtalk online. Or sorry, I guess you can't send the voicemail. Use your voice memo app or send us a voicemail. There's no phone number anymore, is there? All right, we'll call your aunt, your grandma up. Leave a voicemail with your grandma and tell her, make sure you email this to woodtalkonline@gmail.com, or you can leave us a contact, woodtalkshow.com/contact. Leave a comment on this episode on the website, woodtalkshow.com, or find us on Reddit, or not Reddit, Instagram, Twitter. Ask Mark anything on Reddit. We're at Woodtalk Show in all these places, and you can criticize all of our Photoshop creations on Instagram because we didn't build them. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. True. And you know what? Go check out Jackman Works. Give Paul some love. It sounds like he was put through the ringer there.
Yeah. Make sure you tell him that his grandkids will survive.
Yeah. Everything will be fine. Everyone settle down. It's just a door.
Simmer down now.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Happy content creation.
All right. That was good. Oh, that was good. I need to eat lunch.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm getting lightheaded. Getting lightheaded here.
Hungry.
Holy crap. It's getting late already.
Yeah, seriously. You guys are going to ruin your dinners.
I'm in like how much stuff I was up to do. It's already 1:30 here.
Seriously. Yeah. Well, you got a camera to fix, so go get your screwdriver and your welding torch and get started.
I'm waiting for this company to get back to me if they can send me a new board.
I'm telling you, dude, you're going to go down this path. You're going to go down this path, and had you just sent it in for warranty, you probably would have had it done sooner, and it would have actually worked. Trust me. This is how this is going to end. You want me to send you that GoPro camera that's sitting in a box over here for you?
I'll see if my old camera, which I replaced with this one, will work because the focus isn't always like enabled right away.
Yeah.
So
okay.
The trick with that one is once you get the focus to start, don't turn it off.
Okay. Keep it running. Keep it running.
Keep it running. It's super annoying too because it has the manual focus ring, but that's not like directly tied to the actual focus mechanism. That just turns. That's just a dial that tells a motor to turn the thing.
Okay.
So it doesn't actually. Doing this doesn't actually physically do anything.
It's not a physical focus. It's like a sort of secondary thing. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just don't know how to describe it. Okay, I'm going to kill the live stream. Thanks for